When did you end up coming to the States?
It was when I was 10, so it's so different over there, like super different. Like it's so vibrant. Like I love colors and I'm not scared of them, and I feel like a lot of people in the States are terrified of it.
Yeah,
And
for
it's
sure.
I mean, I think it's when you go through a lot of international places, it's just the vibrancy compared to the States. Like I think we play it a little too safe for my liking. So it's definitely had an impact on me for sure, but it is totally different. Like the whole culture itself is just so different.
Yeah. So going off of that, trends, are you a person to follow trends or kind of just like do your own thing?
No,
How do you feel
I'm
about that?
like, I wouldn't kick trends. But you know what? Here's the thing about trends is I think if it's something that you're into, it's okay. It's my problem with trends is they constantly change. So if you're just doing it because everyone else is doing it, it's a different. Like leopard. Leopard is like a man. It's like when I go to theme parks, I love counting how many kids are on leashes. So like through market, I'm like, I want to see how many people I see in leopard, and I just couldn't even keep count. I was like, so many people. But there's plenty of people that loved leopard, and it just happened to come back in style. So when it comes to that, I think it's like I love fanny packs when they were like so not cool, and now they're like the thing. So I'm not anti-trends if it's something that you're actually into.
So staying true to what you like.
Yeah,
rather than
absolutely.
following the community.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people do that, and that's I guess my problem with it is do like what feels great to you. Like it's your home, it's your space, it's you do you. Like I want to be able to walk into my space and like this is me. I'm not. Oh, it's not like my house looks like everyone else in the neighborhood. Like so that's how I personally feel about it. Just do you. Doesn't matter if it's on trend or not. I think it's also great to recognize what trends are. Because especially like as a designer, if you are working for someone else, it's not like they hire you and like do anything you want.
Yeah.
As awesome as that would be.
Yeah.
So you still have to follow kind of what they want. And some people really want trends. So if you can take the trends, but make it your own, I think that's great. I shouldn't say a lot of people can't do that, but it, like, I mean, just go scrolling through Instagram, it's like, yeah, I just almost saw the same picture like 10,000 times, and this looks the same. So I think if you're gonna use trends, just do them in your own way. You know, even as a designer, just acknowledge that there is trends. Because my favorite thing is a lot of them are like, oh, I don't like trends, I don't want to do trends. But then you see them at all the markets, like getting to know the trends. So it's like, just own it. It's okay. Like, just do your own thing.
Right. No, I think that's totally important and very interesting point that you bring up because of how to take the trend but don't go gung-ho mainstream about the trend. Like branch off, do your own thing, like make it yours. You know, how about talk a little bit back about color? Like how are there certain colors that you think are utilized well most of the time, or do you think people like colors maybe that people should use more?
Yeah. Like I'm such a color person. Like I love, like there's so much psychology to design. Like we are humans. Like we really are, like you're designing around humans. Like so it's such a powerful thing to me, and like I'm so passionate about it. And color is something that like affects us. So when you go into space and it's not colorful, and I mean it doesn't have to be like in your face, you know. I'm okay with it personally, but some people aren't. I'm starting to see more color. If you go to like Europe, there's color everywhere. Like it's a huge thing. They're not afraid of it. They're like I just painted my walls dark, and my significant other's like, no, we're not doing dark walls. No, absolutely not. Like we're not gonna be able to sell the house. What if we have to sell the house? And I'm like, this is the problem. It's okay. If you like it, just do it. Like you can change it. Design is so interchangeable. Like just put yourself out of your comfort zone. And I like to push people. Just I'm a little shover sometimes, you know, like because you don't see it. So if people don't really know it's out there, they don't know if they really like it. They're just afraid of it because they don't see it as often.
Right.
So that's the thing. I personally love my color. If I could make my house look like, if you walked into my house and you thought a vampire lived there, that would be my ultimate like goal in life. Like I love that.
Yeah.
Dark, like just sensual, and it's comfortable to me. Like bright colors is great, but I see them all day. So I want to go into a space and like actually be able to turn things off. Like because we live in a society where it's like go 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 go. Like
Right.
it's so stressful. Like it's like something ridiculous. Like 70 to 90% of people have anxiety. Like especially now the younger crowd is becoming a huge problem. And you go into a space, like I don't want to be more stressed out. I don't want
For sure,
to be able to turn off and like calm down.
Yeah.
And just chill. So yeah, that's why I
Awesome. You brought up psychology. You have a degree in psychology.
Yeah.
And have you seen that has impacted now that you're going into design? Has that influenced design and helped you become stronger because of that extra knowledge you have?
Yes, for sure. Because at first I don't want to say disappointed, but I was, I have all this stuff. I've been in school for I should have a PhD by now. That's how I feel about it. And I'm like, oh, I wasted this degree. But the more I go into design, it's so psychological. Because if you are designing around human beings, whether it's residential or commercial, like you're affecting people. And I love the aspect of that is designing a space where you can affect people.
Yeah.
Because again, people are afraid of that. If I can make people think why or make them feel uncomfortable, I like that feeling.
Right.
Like I think more people need to do it.
Yeah.
And I think that's, I guess, I don't want to say the problem society. There's so many problems in society. But we're afraid to do that. We want to stay complacent. We want to just kind of just be in our little bubble. And I hope the next generation just kind of like, we're not doing that. Like,
Yeah.
screw you.
Yeah.
So yeah, psychology has been amazing. And especially now, I think the design world is starting to realize how important psychology is because you have this well-design where, hey, like people are crazily stressed out. We need to design spaces to help them out. And office space is now becoming a big thing where it's because sadly we're spending way more time in offices and working, but it's also designing a space where they feel comfortable. Like you get to have, like you go into your office space and you're like, I've worked at places and I'm like as soon as you get to the door, like you just want to turn around.
Yeah.
So if you can create a space for people to, especially in the creative field as designers, like you want to be able, it's such a huge like collaborative kind of career. I think that's really important to design those spaces where it kind of opens you up to being able to do that in a comfortable way. And then also being like, I guess on a psychological standpoint is working a lot. You have to think about, hey, how can I impact these people's lives? Like how can I make them how can I feel like they're actually contributing to society and the world?
Right.
Like, and I think you can honestly do that through the design. And it's so psychological.
Yeah.
And I wish they would integrate just a little bit of psychology into design because it's, to me, like now as I'm going through design school, I'm like, holy crap, this wasn't a waste of time. This has actually been amazing. Like I get to see it in so many different perspectives. Because even if you think about like floor plans, and you're like, okay, like you know how you go through a space, but you don't know how other people interact with the space. You're just kind of guessing. So I think a psychology background gives you that different perspective and also that openness, like, okay, I know I think this way, not everyone does.
Yeah.
Like how can I make this kind of for everyone? I mean, it's not everyone's going to be like 100% happy. If you can meet like even give 70%, I think that means a lot. Like people care about that.
Right. Yeah. I think that's so important about design is to connect with the actual person using
Yeah.
it rather than just making a pretty space.
Yeah, but it also I think has to do with the clients because they have to also be willing to do that, to be like, hey, this is my space and this is how I want it, not like, oh, I've been observing my neighbors and you know everyone has farmhouse. I want farmhouse because it's cool.
Yeah.
And you go to every store and I think it's psychological. You see it all the time, so they're like, oh, I do like this.
I need that.
Because
Like,
it starts to become familiar.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay, this maybe is something that I'm into, even if you're not. You just, it's like subconsciously, it's constantly in your face.
Right.
So,
How about I know you just talked about how it's making the client happy. But
Yeah.
I think there's also a psychological aspect to thinking about how sometimes the client necessarily doesn't know exactly what they want,
Oh,
or
100%.
even maybe they go to the designer and say, you know, this is what I want, like I'm sticking to it, and then there's kind of like a imbalance between them because they kind of butt heads on that. And then sometimes it ends up that the client sees what the designer is doing, and it's like, okay, yeah, no, I actually want that, not what I wanted. So how about, what's your take on that?
It happens a lot. Like, as I was going through school, I had someone reach out to me like, hey, I just seen your work online, like I'd like to just hire you. I was like, I've been like maybe in a semester of design school. Do you really? And they're like, yeah, I really like it. I was like, okay. And I ended up dropping it because it was too much. I didn't like it. If you're gonna hire a designer, you're hiring a designer for a reason. Like, just trust them. You know, and if you watch like HGTV, it just drives me bonkers and you see it. They're constantly coming in. They're like, oh, I actually want to change that. I thought I wanted that, but I'm wrong. Like, you know. So I think you have to also expose clients to that. Some people don't expose to it. They're like, okay, this is what I want. They're like, okay, well, I'll do it, and I'll do it to the best that I can, and still on my brand. But I think people need to, I guess, push clients a little bit more. But it's also on a psychology standpoint. If I can understand you as a person, like what your needs and what your wants are, I can be able to translate that into design. You don't know what it is, like, and I think as people sometimes we don't know what we want. But if as an outsider you can understand, like, hey, this is how this someone like works. This is their job. So this is when they get home. This is maybe the colors that is going to help them like be able to relax. If they're like introverts or extroverts, like, okay, you know, this might give them anxiety to have too much colors. So something that's calming. So everyone's so different. And again, it goes back to psychology. I think if you can understand a person, I think you can put them out of their comfort zone. I really do. Now, it might take some, like, slowly inching them. Okay, how about this? You like this? Oh, great. How about this? Because, again, they're hiring you for a reason.
Right.
Like, I mean, if they wanted to do it, they would just do it themselves, right?
Exactly.
They know what they want. So it's, I think you have to, again, just push them a little. I wish more people would do that.
Yeah.
So maybe the next generation.
Yeah. Hopefully, right?
Yeah. Not hope, they will.
They will.
They will. Yes, absolutely.
Was there one point where when you had your psychology degree, that you had decided that that wasn't exactly what you wanted and you wanted to go back for design as well?
So I've always been passionate about psychology. And I also think the reason I went into psychology, it was kind of safe. Like, I had a kid at a young age, and I'm like, I want to be able to provide for my kid. I want a career. The creative field is kind of, if you think about it, very, what's the word? I don't want to say starving career, but it kind of is.
Yeah.
So it's kind of all over the place. So going into psychology, I loved it. I wanted to go get a doctor's degree. I had no problem with it. Once I graduated, I was like, look, I'm going to take 2 years and like be able to be out and like have a normal life, because school's a lot. Like, it is. Whew. So I just wanted to take a break before I went into a master's program. And then I was doing that. I worked for a property management company, and I'd go into these like amazing, gorgeous houses. And inside, I was so disappointed. I was like, okay, like, did I just step through like some time zone or time warp or something? There's something wrong. It's so I was like, I want to fix this problem because I'm crazy. This is a problem. Like, why aren't people noticing this? So that's what made me go into design. I was like, I want to fix this. I don't know how, so I'm just going to go to design school.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's going great. It's a lot of work, but I like it.
Yeah. So do you want to maybe talk a little bit about the program that you're in now? Like,
Yeah, absolutely. It's my favorite subject. I will say I can only give my point of view because I'm also older than all my classmates. I have work, I have a family, so it makes it very difficult. And as going through design school, you know, like, how much time you have to put into those classes. It is crazy. People don't even understand the creative field. They're like, oh, that looks so fun, and you just get to, you know, paint and draw and play all day. It's a lot of work. You have, you know, a 2.5 hour class, and you're spending 10 hours outside of that class doing work, and it's just go, go, go. So the program's been good. But again, I guess school can only teach you so much. I'm starting to go a lot more markets. So the more design events I go, I don't want to say the more I'm a little sad about school. So I think it's great that Steven's like getting you guys involved. I think that's awesome. I wish more schools would do that, where you actually get to see like what it's all about instead of just. I've learned a lot more going to these things, and even things that have nothing to do with me. Like I'll go to a panel about owning your own design business. Like I obviously don't have my own design business, but you learn so much out of it. School kind of teaches you like the technical side, and I don't know what y'all's program is, but we have like 5 studios. We do residential, we do a restaurant project, healthcare projects. Right now we're working on an office project. But I wish there was more of just, I guess, design schools where it's, I don't want to say 100% you're doing design, but if I'm going to take a drawing class, I would love to take like a drafting class. Right? That focuses on, hey, these are the skills, instead of like, oh, we're going to draw eggs and, then I need you to figure out how to draw like a floor plan, so, but it's been good. It's awesome. It's been different for me again, because I can't be at school until 2 a.m. I'm at home working on my project till 2 a.m. But my classmates are also great. Like I love like just how talented the younger people are, and they are starting to push boundaries instead of like, oh, this is how it's been, so this is how we're doing it. Like, all right, these people were clearly not thinking. Like, we're gonna kind of do what we want. So I do like it. Design school has been great. It's a lot of work to have a life. I don't want to say like an actual life, but just being a full-time student in design school and then also like raising a family. It's been tough.
No, I definitely think that's very relevant for us, especially because our program as well encourages students, to learn how to time manage and even play. They always encourage to play a sport, because I think that especially like makes, okay, this time is going to be just restricted for my schoolwork, and then this time like it's going to be my like break. And I think that it's very important, because I mean, when you're constantly thinking about the same thing all the time, you're going to get fried out. You know what I mean?
100%.
Yeah.
And I even feel like that in the workplaces as well now. Like, I did an internship and it was amazing. It was like the best experience ever. But sadly, I felt like I didn't use a lot of what I was taught in school. So it was a little frustrating. But I think it's such a learning experience. Also, design is so diverse. Like, I had no idea like how broad it is. There's so many different avenues you can go into. It just blows my mind. So that part is, it's been fun. But it's finding what you want to do with design. So obviously, like, not every school is going to be able to cater to everyone.
Right.
But it's I've enjoyed it. I can't wait to get out. It's like, I don't want to just start collecting student debt.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
I want to like be able to work and like learn. I love learning. It's like crazy. People are like, you don't read regular books? I'm like, oh, what's wrong with reading like fact books? And, things that I don't get to really learn about in school. I mean, how often do you have time to read outside of school? Yeah, exactly. Like it's so much. But I also have like a 10-year-old, so I get to like sit and I get to use him to learn. You can read your books on your time, but like before bed, we're gonna learn. We're gonna do some trivia. We're gonna learn about the world, different cultures, and enjoy that. So I guess I just wish that schools would expose you to a little more when it comes to actually being in the design field. Like I said, Steven, like bringing you guys here is awesome. Like, I think, honestly, more schools need to get students involved with the design world. So you can start connecting the two. Because, I don't know if you guys done an internship, but it's, I don't know, were you shocked? We're like, whoa. Like,
I mean, I had a completely different, like, intent when going into school. I mean, I applied up as business just as, like, a side fact. So, I mean, design, it really opened my mind up to my, like, creative side that I've always had. and I'm sure that with you as well because of the whole psychology background going into design. But yeah, I think you make an excellent point about how like schools really want to encourage students. I mean, for us, like we would not be here without our professor Stephen Garrison. Like he works so hard, and you as well with the student lounge. Like you guys push us, and we just try to like work well to give back to you because it's really like it's a teamwork, and you know we really respect you guys for the efforts that you guys make for us as students. Yeah. But yeah, like maybe do you want to talk a little bit about your design as how you kind of go about like a project or something in that way?
Yes, it's so funny because going through like the student lounge, I want to pick designer's brand. I want to like, because we're all different. Like being in the creative field, we're all like in our own little worlds. Like that's the great thing about the creative field. So you can't cater to everyone at the same time. So I guess being able to push you to do these events, which I don't know what a lot of schools are, but I went to a design event that was only for students. So I got to meet so many students from like all over the US. It was great. So I wanted to learn about their programs. And one thing is a lot of them didn't push me to do these things. So it's like, how do you connect design? Yeah, it's great. I can design, you know, an office space. I can design a residential space, and I know ADA and, you know, like let's be green. But can you apply that to the real world? So I think here you guys get to like experience it. Like, okay, I get to interact with designers. I get to learn from them. I get to see like why these people go here. And you think about it, like we live in a society like internet is such a big thing. Like it's part of our world.
Social media is a thing.
It's a
all the
huge
time.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But like being able to like see things where if I go on the internet and I click sofa, okay, like and someone else does the same thing, you're gonna get the same exact results. Right. So being able to go to these markets and going back to trends, like you get to see what's actually out there. As a student, sometimes, like again, you're just looking for what you have to do for your project. So you're like, I didn't even know this was a thing out here. Like, so I think putting yourself in these markets is awesome. I wish more people would take their students because, you know, some people are like, some professors are like, no, like you're going to school. I don't, you know what? Yeah, it's great if you go to market, but I'm still counting you absent. I know it's a design event, but no. Yeah. It's like, okay, all right. Well, yeah, I guess you get to pick and choose. But so I like hail Steven for doing it because even when I met him a couple,
We really have so do.
But and he's getting more and more people involved. And I think I met him 2 high points ago, and it was quiet in this area. Like it was very quiet, and so to see people in like just in less than a year, like how much he's been like pushing and really like helping students to get involved because it's hard. I'm not kidding. Like my classmates probably think I'm crazy because I'm like, look, all right, I will pay for a hotel for all of us to just get in there and like experience this because I want to motivate them to do these things, but sometimes it's really hard. You know, it's everyone's so different, and I don't know what it is because I think me and Steven actually had this conversation, and he hasn't been the only one I've talked to. Like I've talked to other professors who are passionate about putting students in front of all these things. It's like I can't get them to do it. I remember we had sorry, I love my classmates, but no, it's awesome. But there was like, you know, again, my professor set up where we went and checked out a company called Dirt. I don't know if you're familiar with Dirt.
I am not. But.
Okay, I wasn't either, but it's really cool if you like look up their stuff. So they're all about like building. I don't want to say green, but not putting toxins inside. Like so, I don't know if you knew this because I didn't know this until I went there. They have insulation that's blue jeans. Yeah. Okay. I'm like, I didn't think about that. That's really cool because I don't know if you've ever worked with insulation, but it doesn't feel great.
Yeah.
So like you can touch this and stuff. And I'm like, oh. But a lot of the classmates and some other classes were invited, and I was the only one that showed up. Yeah.
That's so sad.
It is really sad, and that was a day like my son wasn't feeling well, so I wasn't even gonna go. But I'm like, okay. His grandma's like, look, it's just an hour and a half. Like, we got it. And he's like, okay, well I'll go. And I'm so glad I did. I was like, but I enjoyed it. I love to like be in the middle of it. Like in the classroom is great. I love the classroom setting. I love hearing people collaborate and come up with these awesome ideas and building on top of it. But I enjoy the social aspects and like learning again about what's actually out there that design actually offers.
Right.
Because I don't really, again, the internet is so filtered and it's overwhelming. So if I can see something, and it's inspiring to see things and you're like, oh, especially for y'all's program, because it seems like you actually like build stuff, which I think is amazing. I wish a lot of design would actually do that, because I think it's so, again, on a psychological standpoint, working with your hands and your brain and stuff.
That was gonna be my next question. How do you think like building, like physical building, is very imperative to the process? And
very, but it's kind of dying out.
Yeah.
In such a huge like technology world, everyone wants everything like computerized. You know, it's easier, it's quicker, but it's kind of like automatically done for you. You don't have that connection of clicking that you do like sketching. Like I'm a terrible sketcher, like, but I enjoy like being able to connect that, and it's easier to sit there instead of sit at a computer and try to build something not by hand. You start to understand the process. You start to understand like, okay, this is not gonna work. Like it doesn't make sense as I'm doing it. It's so easy to come up with all these awesome ideas, but when you put it into like technology, it's, oh yeah, it looks great. But is it functional? Like again, you're designing around humans. Go into restaurants, go into hotels, there's some things like, why is this, like it doesn't make any sense. But if you were to build it and like be able to connect with it and understand like the flow of it, like, okay, this isn't gonna work. So I think that's super important, and it makes me sad that I don't get that in my school.
No, we have that problem, I think, at our school as well. You know, as you go up in years, we kind of like rely on like 3D modeling and really getting into like the programs that we kind of lose the basics that we learned. And I know that like for me, especially this semester, going back and saying, you know what, I'm going to take a step back and I'm going to go from the beginning and really hone in on what I learned. Because you're always going to need the basics for it to work. So, and I think once we start to get involved with those programs and really just rely on them, I hate to say it, but it makes for kind of boring design as well, because you kind of get stuck in this kind of like funk that like you're not, and then I think that's where the problem comes out of people not wanting to get out of their comfort zones. They're worried about their design is going to be ineffective towards people. So
I agree with you 100%. One of my favorite things to do is to watch children. I know it sounds kind of creepy. I'm not like just like, you know, at a playground with no kid and just like staring, you know. That would be a little creepy. But I love like even going into like, my son used to be in the Montessori, and I used to love to just go in there and like see what children are doing. Like I think those are like the best inspiration on the planet. They have no filter. They have no fear. They don't know rules. They're like, oh, this makes sense in my brain, I'm gonna do it. As opposed, like, as we're getting older and you go through school, you're taught how to think a certain way. And I think it makes it even harder, because when you're going through elementary, you're going to middle and high school, you're taught to follow rules. This is the structure. And then to go in a creative field, it's like, whoa, like what's going on? I was taught not to think crazy, and now I have to be creative. It's hard. I wish more people would just I guess get involved with, I want to say get involved with children, it might be a problem, but I just love watching them, how they build, like even Legos, you know, that's something that is very hands-on, and it's building, it's, okay, I understand how these connect, how this works, and they come up with, I mean, my son makes me look like, I have no idea, like a 90-year-old person trying to, tie my shoes or something. I'm like, how did you come up with that? So it's like, if you ever come across kids, just ask them, like just crazy things. Like if you have a problem, if you have like nieces, nephews, or any kids in the family, like as a design thing, you're like, hey, how would you solve this? And it's so irrelevant, it's crazy, but it starts to like inspire you, like, oh, okay, well, at least I kind of understand like where that came from, because you're limited to only your thoughts. But if someone else can open your mind more, because I think we need that. Like, we need other people to do that, to grow, like, to build. Like, caveman people needed a community to survive. Like, I think it's so, like, important in the creative fields. And some people, it's harder. Like, in school, like, we do group projects, but I don't know if you like group projects, but I don't like group projects. It's stressful. Sometimes you have people that aren't putting in the effort that you feel they should. And then you're also maybe so different.
Right.
And you're just kind of put in a group, but you're not really taught how to work with them. Like, we have a lot of group projects, but we were never, like, taught, hey, this is how you collaborate. Hey, you guys need to sit down and literally just on a piece of paper, just pass it around and write ideas and see what pops up. And then, like, okay, how can we build on this? And I think that would be so important. Like, if I guess classes or something can just take the time to do that before they just throw you in a group project. I think that would really change a lot of things. Because it's hard. Sometimes it's just hard in general to work with other people, especially in a creative field. I feel like we're like, oh, well, my idea is better, or oh, well, clearly you don't see my point of view. Like, I don't know what you're thinking. Like, well, clearly she doesn't know what she's talking about. So I think learning how to build on each other, because, like, in the design world, that is what happens. At least, especially in hospitality, I like hospitality, and that's what I did this summer. It's like literally, it's like a, what is it, Jenga, right? That's where you're like, as you're building up, you're literally building, and it's becoming better and better and better. So I just, I wish they would do that, just teach you how, it's like, you're not taught how to buy a car or a house, you just have to figure it out. But when it comes to that, I think it's really important to be open to other people's ideas, and like, children have no filter, and that's my favorite thing ever.
I think a big thing with that is some things are so just like instinctive. So it's just like looking at them and saying, like, how does, like even they're just constantly like moving things, touching blocks and all this stuff, and it's like, how does, like, looking at like their iterative process like relate to us, and like how do they kind of take like things away from their design, so to say, and like it still works, and kind of play with that effect of everything.
That was an awesome word that you used, their process. Like, it's so important, like, as a designer, it's a process. Everything in design is a process. You know, whether it's building furniture, designing someone's house, designing a restaurant, it's all about the process. So, like you said, being able to see, like, what their thoughts are and how their process, like, how do they come up with that? I think it's incredible. It opens up your mind. Like, your brain is such a powerful thing. It's amazing. And I guess that's why I really enjoy psychology and design now. I'm starting to realize just how much it really goes together.
So kind of going off of that, your podcast, do you want to tell us just a little bit about that and how you got it started and your role in it and everything?
Yes. Okay, so I started listening to podcasts when I started going to school. I drive 3 hours a day for school. So I was like, I love music, but what else can I do? My friend's like, have you not heard a podcast? I'm like, what the heck is a podcast? This was only like less than 2 years ago. She's like, just check out podcasts. So mine are like all crime and then like 2 design ones. So I think that's normal, right? But one of the podcasts that I listened to, the Shays Lounge, which is an interior design business podcast, which I couldn't relate to, but I learned so much. He had a competition for winning a trip to Spain through a company, and it was for designers and architects. And again, I think my crazy brain's like, okay, well, I don't care. Like, let me just do it. Like, what are they going to say no? And it was terrifying, but we had to like make videos about Spain and why we should go or why we wanted to go, what was interesting about Spain. We didn't win the competition, but they're like, we just loved your effort. We're still going to take you. So when I went over there, you know, I got connected with Nick, and he was like, hey, I really think it would be great to do a student podcast. I've been wanting to do it. Would you be interested? I was like, sure. Never done it before. I'll figure it out. So that's how it got started, and it's just been, as I'm going through it, it's like evolving. Because the more I go through school, the more I'm learning what we aren't learning in school. So that's, I guess, what I'm trying to bridge that gap of also understanding. Like when I went to design school, I don't know about you, but I had a totally different perspective of it. I had no idea like what all went into design. I just knew it was more than fluffing pillows. So it's been awesome. It's been great. So I just like want to help, I guess, people learn. So yeah, it's been awesome. That's how we got connected though, is the trip to Spain, and it's just been, I guess, uphill from there.
Do you have a team that works with you, or
Yes, no.
okay?
I set up all my interviews. I do all my recordings and stuff, and I'll send them over for them like to post.
Okay.
So yeah.
So and how often is that?
I guess now everyone's like switching into seasons. So my podcast manager wants to switch into seasons.
Okay.
So I think it's like he wants to do like 10 episodes and then like 2 weeks off and then 10 episodes. So it's only been about a year and a couple months that we're doing the podcast. So it's been like a learning thing, and then it's been hard to, I guess, be consistent because in design school it's just a lot. And then not a lot of students, at least I don't know, like my classmates that I know, some of them don't listen to podcasts. Like it's still like a thing that people don't know about. So, but it's a great learning thing. Like if I can learn from other people's mistakes, heck yeah. So yeah, that's how I got connected with that.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
I have another question. I know you talked a little bit about traveling and going to Spain and how like that was an incredible experience for you. Do you think that like obviously I'm assuming that you're a big advocate for traveling and for designers and everything like that.
Yes.
Do you want to talk a little bit about that? Like
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. Okay, I love traveling. I haven't been to a lot of places because I've been in school for 100 years, so it makes it a little bit harder. But I love it. Like, we're so limited. The U.S. is beautiful. It's so many different cultures into one, and I love that. But you don't get the 100% pure cultures. If you go to, let's say, Asia, like the buildings, Europe, it's amazing how long those buildings have been standing. It just blows my mind. It becomes very inspiring, and you start to see the world differently. Also, with traveling, you get to understand how other people live. We just assume people live how we do. Well, there's like Asian culture, you have to think about feng shui. They're very passionate about it, and it's kind of embedded in their culture. It's like, so you have to be educated about that. Every time I go to a bathroom now, it bothers me that I don't see like a purse hanger, because a lot of the Asian cultures, if you put your purse on the floor, it's like bad luck.
Oh, okay.
So like things like that, and I'm like, it starts to just, I'm like, oh, man, this would suck if like it was something that like, what do you do, put it on your lap or something? So I guess things like that, different. Also, like think about how close we are. So different cultures, it's like they're okay. Like you could be like in my face, like we could be like right here talking, and we'd be totally okay with that. As here, it's not. Like you kind of need your own bubble. So I think going to different cultures and understanding how they live also helps with design. You start to become, I think it just starts to open up all the possibilities of, oh, this can be done. And it's also, to me, if I want to be able to design for other cultures, and you have to learn about them and you have to respect them, and that is when you, I guess, can put your design in a way in their culture, like that's respectful. Like this is their beliefs, and this is what they're comfortable with. So I think that's important. Like it exposes you to so much. It's like mind blowing. When I went to Spain, I was like, wow, this is incredible.
Yeah.
And even like New York City, I like love New York City. But yeah, anytime if somebody could study abroad or just travel, like I'm such a huge advocate for travel. Like do it. I think if you talk to super successful designers, they travel a lot. They get to learn about different cultures. It's inspiring. And you get to see like, okay, this has been going on for, thousands of years, and it's just now coming out in the States.
Right.
Europe is way ahead of us when it comes to design. So going to places like that, I think, to me is very important, and it's fun. like I don't know about you guys, but I love food.
Yeah,
So,
right.
like, trying different foods out is like awesome. And then think about it in a design standpoint. How many like history books do we have, or design inspirational books that we have, like textbooks?
Yeah.
So to be able to travel to those places that you've seen in the books, it just makes it awesome. Like the bar, there's a hotel bar here that everyone goes to, Proximity, and it was in one of my design books, the lobby, because of it's like a floating desk.
Yeah.
And I was like, the first time I saw it, I was like, goodness, like, I've seen this in my book. This is actually really cool. So yeah, if you can travel, like, please do. Just even if you have like a backpack and there's nothing, like Bobby Burke, he's awesome. He like moved to New York from somewhere in the Midwest with like nothing. Like he was like, yeah, I had like $70 in my pocket, and he like made it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think people are afraid of that. Like, we want to be comfortable. We like are scared to, I don't know, we're gonna be on the street or someone's gonna kill us, or different cultures are, oh, I don't need that. Like, there are some closed-minded people. I don't see that too much in the creative field, honestly. But there's people who are like, why would I want to travel? Like, I'm fine where I'm at.
Yeah.
Right. How do you open your mind to what's out there? And I don't know. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Like, just different cultures are like amazing thing.
Yeah, and then I guess in the sense of not like being so out there and everything like that.
Yeah.
You're kind of doing a disservice to yourself, and
Yeah.
you know what I mean. The more knowledge you can get, I think, is better for you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean. But it's something that I was interested about learning from you. Do you find it hard, like getting your foot in the door, like, or do you think that your podcast kind of helped you immerse yourself more from a student's perspective to a designer's perspective?
No, actually, it hasn't. I had terrible luck with finding an internship. I had a lot of work experience, like, and I had the podcast. I had, people that I've met, but it honestly didn't help me too much. But I was fine with that. I think it's inspiring if you listen to some crazy stories, like, what is it, Thomas Edison. It's like, I tell my kid, he'll come to me and he's like, oh, Mom, I can't do this. Like, how many times did it take to make the light bulb? Like, you just have to keep trying. Like, the more no's you hear, the like one yes that I feel like is fitting. Like, I was very discouraged because all my classmates found internships.
Right.
And like, we also had a deadline. Well, I was like way past that deadline. I was like, okay, well, maybe I'm just not going to do an internship. But it turned out, like, just 3 weeks before, like, I left to go to New York City, they hired me.
Yeah.
So, and it was the perfect fit.
Yeah.
And I think, just don't be discouraged. You're going to hear a lot of no's because we are students. Like, it is really hard. I personally think, to get your foot in the door. But I think if you're passionate for what you want to do and you kind of have an idea of what you want to do and you go for it, and don't let anything stop you. Like, because there will be things that are going to stop you. And I think too many people give up.
Yeah.
It's easy to give up. Like, oh, it's just not meant for me. And maybe you just got to keep trying. If it's something you really want to do, just keep trying for it. Now, design markets have been great. And maybe, like, all my connections will help me in the real world, which I feel like if I open up my business tomorrow, I have a lot of people I can call if I have questions.
Yeah.
And it's incredible. So, again, going to these markets, meeting designers, learning about it, you guys have, I feel like, a foot in the door. Like, you might just meet the right person.
Right.
Yeah. You guys connect, or you learn, like, wow, I didn't even know this was a thing in design. So, yeah, just keep pushing yourself. It's hard. It sucks sometimes, badly, but just keep doing it. Like, it's okay to hear no's. It's okay to, I don't want to say it's not failing for me. It's just, like, it wasn't, it's like a maze.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes you hit dead ends, but there's always a way to get out. You got to keep hitting dead ends.
Yeah.
But you'll get to there. It might take a while. You're gonna get lost. You'll get there. So I think not as many people push for what they really want. And I guess it makes me a little sad. They kind of just give up. They're like, oh, I'll just take whatever.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I want to encourage people to not be afraid. But we live in a society where we're so embedded with, like, anxiety and being afraid to do things.
Yeah.
And we're taught, like, And then also social media is wonderful, but you're like, oh my gosh, all these people are super successful. But you don't see like all their failures.
Yeah.
Right. So people will just think, oh well, they went from A to Z and there was nothing in between. So I think just keep doing it. I encourage classmates all the time.
Yeah.
It's okay. And I think in the creative world you have to like, I don't know, be very supportive because it can be hard.
Yeah.
It is I don't want to. It is a hard career. It's so much fun. People don't realize how much work they actually put in.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you're passionate about something, just do it.
Okay, well, it's been a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.
So much. Do you want to tell us where we can keep up with you and your podcast?
Yeah, it's the Student Lounge Podcast _ on Instagram. And then
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for watching, and we'll see you next time.